All right, Kevin Cork, thank you. Senator Kyrsten Sinema announcing she plans to lead a bipartisan trip to Texas and Arizona next month to see the border crisis firsthand, and she says the commander-in-chief should join her.
I can tell you, as a native Arizonan who was born and raised near the border is not secure, and it has never been secure in my lifetime. The facts are that more people will come when Title 42 expires, and it will become a more dangerous situation for not only our border communities, but for those migrants themselves. I absolutely think the president should visit the border. In fact, I think anyone who's responsible for setting or making policy on the border should visit the border. I mean, that's a no-brainer. Right.
Seems like a no-brainer, but not so for this administration. With that, let's bring in Canyon County, Idaho Sheriff Kieran Donahue. Sheriff, thanks for being here. I think this begs the obvious question. If the White House acknowledges it needs Title 42 for another week in order to prevent an even bigger crisis from happening, why not extend this thing long term?
Well, it's ludicrous to not extend it long term. It's only one of the few tools that we have to stop this surge. And, of course, that's not even enough to stop what's going on down there. And of course, it's not enough to stop what's happening in the interior of the United States, in states and communities like mine. The victimization is overwhelming our resources, and it's not sustainable. It never has been.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And you are 1,900 miles away from the southern border. You were on our show a few months ago saying that fentanyl is just pouring into your community. Is that still the case? And if Title 42 does, in fact, go away, when it does, what do things look like for your neck of the woods?
Well, first of all, Carly, thank you. The fentanyl, of course, continues to pour in here. We now have rainbow fentanyl. I was just talking to our drug units yesterday. We're seizing rainbow fentanyl, which, of course, is even more dangerous for the young adults and children. And the fact is, we've got an administration who does not have the courage, either the president or the vice president, to get off their chairs and get down to that border, see it firsthand, and see the catastrophic effects of their policies and their insistence that this border is secure. It's just a moronic statement, and the vice president continues to stand on her platform saying, oh, it's secure, but we've got problems, and the GOP and the Republicans won't help us out. Give us something to work with. We are inundated and we're overwhelmed, and our colleagues at the border are taking the brunt of it. But you can look at the law enforcement across this country, and we are all inundated and we're all dealing with this crisis. And yet this administration fails to do anything except complain about and they don't complain about their own ineptness, but they need to.
This stat is chilling. The DEA reporting it has seized more than 379 million potentially deadly doses of fentanyl just this year. You know this isn't just an Idaho problem. This is a problem that affects every single state in our nation. And when you look at that number, 379 million, we're a population of 330 million. So basically, we're talking about the destruction of the entire U.S. population. Yet there's no urgency on the part of this administration to stop this. Why?
I simply cannot comprehend it. I don't understand. The numbers you just gave, we are dealing with in the streets. 1 in 4 pills are lethal doses. We've had overdose after overdose. I've had an overdose just this week in my jail from fentanyl being smuggled in. A woman literally was not conscious, not breathing, and my staff brought her back. This is almost every day that we're doing that, just in my facility, let alone what's happening in the streets. And to, again, have this administration that makes the appearance to me that they're complicit, obviously complicit in these crimes and the victimization. And then are they complicit as in working with China to destroy this country, to invade it and destroy this country and the Mexican cartels? Yeah. I just heard on your show that the president's going to meet with the president of Mexico. What the hell good is that going to do? The president's not even control of his own country against the cartels. This president needs to take a hard stance against the cartels who are literally destroying our country and victimizing both the migrants coming across and the people the populace of the United States.
Yeah, it's a great point. The president's going to be in Mexico City on January 9th, and you just have to wonder how he is going to address the fentanyl issue and the border issue with the Mexican president. So we're definitely going to be keeping a close eye on that meeting. There are also, Sheriff, some Democrats that are speaking out now. Kyrsten Sinema, who just declared herself as an independent, but there are other Democrats on Capitol Hill who are now finally saying that this border issue is in fact a crisis. Do you think that sort of pressure from within the president's own party might change things? Does that give you any hope?
It actually does, Carly. It's a great point. And finally, and you know, I'm hoping that they're seeing it because they're realizing the devastation of their own communities and what's happening on that border. Unfortunately, part of it's probably from a political standpoint. They don't want to get unelected. But it does give me a little bit of pause and a little bit of hope that they can help swing the momentum to force this administration to do something on this border. Because, again, it's literally not sustainable. And I'm hoping that the Democratic Party can walk across that aisle and say, look, we've got to do something together or we're going to lose this battle.
Fox News' Bill Malugin tweeting yesterday, and he's been obviously the main person covering this throughout all of media. Quote, elite trackers with the Texas Department of Public Safety arrested 3 illegal immigrants from Honduras who were smuggling 2.40 pounds of fentanyl pills, 172 pounds of marijuana as they snuck through the extremely remote terrain of the Big Bend sector in West Texas.
Wow.
One smuggler was only 14 years old. Let's focus on that last sentence, Sheriff. This is a humanitarian crisis. This is not just impacting the citizens of the United States, but these young boys and young girls who are being exploited in ways that I don't want to talk about at 4:09 on a Wednesday morning of Christmas week. It's disgusting. We know we know what's going on. Where's the White House on that aspect of it? The humanitarian aspect of it. These young girls, young boys being abused.
Well, you and I appreciate your candidness there and your conservative approach to that, to what we say on Christmas, week of Christmas. But this is the victimization at the worst and highest levels. These people are being abused. They're being sexually abused. They're being they're being trafficked. They're being exploited. And how we as Americans, and again, the administration, cannot pour our hearts out to these people. It's not people that are coming across to cause damage. These are people looking for a better way of life. They're fleeing their own countries because of turmoil and chaos and corruption and criminality. But along the way, the cartels are exploiting every single one of them. You do not cross that border without cartel involvement. They're having to pay a price, whether it's monetary or whether it's a sexual means or just the abuse. And then, of course, the exploitation of a 14-year-old as a smuggler. How do we not stop and pause and say, my God, what are we doing to humanity? And where is the humanitarian outcry for these young victims on both sides of the border, and especially the migrants coming across? It's incomprehensible. I don't have an answer.
It is. You know, when you think about national security and securing our border, that is a federal government. That is a Biden administration responsibility. And from a law enforcement perspective, you just have to wonder if they really understand the gravity of this situation. Sheriff Kieran Donahue, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate it, as always.
Thank you, as always.
Absolutely.